Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. Today we are going to start on Chikage Kazama's route. Alright, so let us dive into it. There's going to be lots of skipping. If you haven't already been watching the playlist in order, please do, because there will be lots of scenes from both Sonosuke and Okita's routes. But I will be showing the choices I make in case people are following this as a walkthrough. So you can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. And our first choice, we have to find a way to escape. Then I must try to run for it. As if that's gonna do any good at all. I had no choice but to run. If I was going to die anyway, then I had nothing to lose by trying to escape. Slipping around a stunned Kondo, I took off down the hallway.
Did you really think you could escape?
No. Ah! He snatched me from the floor in one smooth motion, with the grace of a cat. Let me go!
You think I'm stupid? You'll just try to run. No.
His voice was angry. I squirmed and twisted, but I couldn't escape. But I don't want to die! My voice threatened to waver with fear, but I hoped volume would mask it. And there's something I have to do!
Huh. And what's that, huh? What makes a girl put on pants and run around Kyoto pretending she's a boy?
Huh? Sir? He didn't look happy. Did you just say girl? I was scared, there was no denying it. Sanan looked at us and nodded.
I see. Then you really were a girl.
Huh?
Come on, you really thought putting on a pair of pants was going to fool us? Even an idiot could see you're a girl.
What? Had they really known all along? Not all of them. I wasn't quite sure what to think.
Oh, Isami Kondo, you fool! This is the embarrassment of a lifetime. How could I not have realized?
Well, perhaps they hadn't all known. The reaction, I confess, made me feel a little bit better.
You almost got killed for it, whatever it is. Maybe it's time you spilled your guts, kid.
I looked back at him and nodded. Oh, so he liked that I tried to escape. More skippage. And here I must talk to someone. And now we must leave and search for my father. This time look for Heisuke, so we'll get a little new text. I had to go look for Heisuke. He was always looking after me, so it was time I returned the favor. I looked around the inn. What? Out of the darkness, a ronin appeared, his sword at the ready, and headed straight for me. Ah! As his sword swept down, another interposed itself between us, Nagakura's blade.
You're fighting me, pal. You don't get to run off unless I say you can.
The ronin's yell ended in a wet gurgle as Nagakura's sword drove itself deep in the man's stomach. Blood exploded everywhere. Ugh. I felt my gorge suddenly rise. Blood was still too much for me.
Sorry to ask you this right now, but Heisuke's in the back. Could you go get him?
Yep, that's what I'm here for. I opened my mouth to respond, but... Nagakura, your hand! His left hand was drenched in bright crimson blood. It looked as if a good portion of it was simply gone. It looks awful. Nagakura glanced down at it and laughed.
That? Didn't even know I had it. I'm fine, alright. Doesn't even hurt, so stop making that face.
He's in shock. But...
Nobody's getting past me, so you go take care of Heisuke, alright? I'm counting on you.
With that, he turned around and brought his blade up to meet that of another ronin. I was worried about Nagakura, but I knew standing around wasn't going to help him. Heisuke, on the other hand. I turned and ran off through the battlefield the Ikeda Inn had become. It wasn't long before I saw him. Heisuke? You're hurt! He blinked and looked around, almost as if he couldn't see me. Perhaps it was all the blood running into his eyes from the wound on his forehead.
Chizuru! Goddammit! What the hell are you doing here?
I could see his chest heaving, as if each breath was an effort for him. What? What do you mean? I'm here because I was worried about you. I thought maybe I could help.
Well, you can't. This is dangerous, and that was stupid. This is not a good time to be worrying about me.
Maybe, but that's a serious injury.
No, it's nothing. I'll just walk it off. I feel better already.
You'll walk off a head injury. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why don't you just rub some dirt on it? As he spoke, he turned around, his sword held in a ready position, ready to defend me. But he was so weak, I could see that he only kept his grip on it with great effort. The Ronin across from us, on the other hand, was as silent and calm as a great statue. Wait! There was something. Something didn't seem right. Suddenly, I realized what it was. The Ronin had no sword. I didn't have the time to figure out what that meant, though. I had to... Stop Heisuke. If I let Heisuke keep going, he was going to hurt himself. Stop it, Heisuke! He was in no condition to fight, but his opponent looked completely unhurt. Clearly, Heisuke would be at a serious disadvantage. You're hurt. You need medical attention. I didn't expect escape to be easy, of course, but if we could at least make it to the entrance, then Nagakura would be there to back us up.
You really don't think I can handle this, huh?
He looked sad. I hadn't meant it that way, of course, but had I hurt his feelings somehow? No, there was no way he could fight like that. The Ronin looked at us and sighed.
I have no reason to fight you.
What? What did he mean?
If you leave, then I do not intend to take your lives.
Then he was letting us go? Considering the fix we were in, that was quite a favor. But could I believe him?
We can't let you go. Anybody who's with the Choshu is...
Heisuke wobbled. Heisuke? He could barely stand.
You assume too much. I'm not one of the Choshu.
Then, why the hell are you at the Ikeda?
His words were forced, as if it took all his effort to speak, and the tip of his sword was beginning to shake. He wasn't scared, of course, but his injuries were great. Even the most powerful swordsman was still only a man. The Ronin took one last, unreadable look at us, then turned around to leave.
Get back here! God damn it!
Heisuke! He began to run after the Ronin, but planted his foot in a pool of fresh blood and crashed to the floor.
Damn it! Damn it! This isn't over. You just wait until You're gonna...
He made a few more grunts that sounded like attempts at further curses, then stumbled and collapsed unconscious. I need to stop the bleeding. Quickly, I tore off a section of my sleeve and pressed it against his forehead. It looked as if the blow had only torn the skin, although it had gone all the way through to the skull. At last, I felt myself relax. We were still in danger, but Heisuke's wounds didn't look fatal. That was when I saw the head guard lying on the floor. Huh? It must have been Heisuke's, but it had been cracked cleanly in half by... something. Their fight must have been awfully intense. I was starting to feel a little dizzy from the stench of so much blood, but Heisuke needed my help. I couldn't give up. And this time I went to come. And once again we go to Kuge Gate. And cheer for Harada. They might not have felt any particular animosity toward one another, but Harada and the man called Shiranui were enemies. I didn't know much about pistols, but I was sure that they were capable of killing just as many people as swords. If I were to try and help, I'd most likely only get in the way. There was really only one thing I could do. You can do it, Harada! I didn't imagine cheering him on would do a great deal of good, but I had to do something. I didn't want him to get hurt. He gave me a bark of laughter and turned to face the man called Shiranui.
Shiranui, right? Yeah, Shiranui. You knew this raid was never going to work, didn't you? Maybe, but this is hardly enough men to take on the Imperial Estate, isn't it?
He was right, of course. The Choshu hadn't brought nearly the amount of force one would need to conquer the Imperial Estate, but it was a surprise to hear that admitted so frankly by one of their number. Wait! That meant that this man, Shiranui, had no intention of actually attacking the estate. At least, not today. Harada simply shrugged.
I won't go after the men who fled. My job is only to protect the estate.
I thought back to when Hijikata had given his men their orders. He had told Harada to deal with the Choshu, but beyond that, he certainly hadn't told him to kill them all. Shiranui didn't know that, of course. He was at a disadvantage, but that didn't mean he would back down easily. I held my breath and waited.
It looks like you're getting a pass today.
He slammed his gun back into its holster and swept his glare slowly across all the men there, stopping on Harada.
Sanosuke Harada of the Shinsengumi. Remember this face, because the next time we meet, it'll be the last thing you see.
With a final snarl in our direction, he turned and was gone. The situation was thus resolved, but something felt wrong. I ran to Harada. I didn't know what to say to him, but I felt like I had to do something. And for this choice, we need to investigate. And this time, the Yagi house. And this time, persuade him. Leave you be? You know I can't do that. And I'm not the only one. If anyone else were here, I'm sure they'd say the same thing. Kondo, Hijikata, all of them. If Sanin died, it would be a sad day for every man in the Shinsengumi. Even Ito, despite what he'd said, he'd been rude, certainly, but he had never once made light of Sanin's skill or dedication. I beg to differ, although I suppose Todo may be rather displeased with me for taking it. His smile was somehow distant, as if it were for Heisuke himself, far away in Edo. Well then, if I should die, please give my regards to Todo. What? What do you mean your regards? That's only going to upset him more. He was asking me to convey his last words. I didn't want to do that. I couldn't do that. Sanin only gave me another crooked smile. That I should be pitied by one such as you, and here I thought to call myself a colonel of the Shinsengumi. I suppose I put you through a great deal. And that was the end of the conversation. With a single movement, he drew back his head and drank a strange red liquid all at once. A single drop escaped to trickle from the corner of his mouth. I thought I heard the sound of a single deep heartbeat, and then the bottle fell from Sanin's hands to shatter on the floor. As it fell, so did he, collapsing into a heap just as the bottle exploded into pieces. Sanin! Why? Why had he done it? Why had he taken a path that could easily end in death or worse, madness? I started toward him, but he flung out his hand to stop me. I paused, uncertain. He groaned in agony and pulled his hand back to grip his chest over his heart. How could I just stand there? I took another step forward. His right arm whipped out, almost too fast to see, and threw me across the room. I slammed into the wall and slid to the floor stunned. I could barely breathe. My vision went blurry for a moment, but I had been lucky. My sword had taken the brunt of the impact. If it hadn't, I could have been seriously hurt. I coughed once and looked up, just in time to see Sanin land on top of me, his hands already reaching for my throat. Ugh! I couldn't breathe. The hands around my throat were Sanin's, but the man behind them was someone else. His hair began to slowly turn a brilliant white, the color creeping down each strand until his face, twisted with madness, was framed by the color of fresh snow. His eyes, they were the eyes of a predator, not a human. I had seen eyes just like them the night I first come to Kyoto. Those creatures in the alley, wearing blue drenched in blood. Monsters! I bit my lip. No, this wasn't the monster. This was Sanin. He was still the man I knew. Sanin... Suddenly, the fingers around my neck loosened. Had he just let me go? I fell forward, gasping for air. My throat felt raw and stiff. I could feel the warm lines on my neck where bruises from his fingers were already beginning to form. He screamed, a raw animal cry, and clapped a grasping hand to his face. But between his fingers I saw an eye, and in it a flash of reason behind the madness. The Sanin I knew was still there. Well, I see I failed then. Perhaps I'm not as lucky as I thought. That self-deprecating humor. There could be no doubt that Sanin was still there. My body was weak, and I wanted nothing so much as to simply lie down and sleep, but I struggled across the room to him. Sanin, are you okay? Even as I said it, I knew it was a foolish question. His breath was coming in gasps, but he managed a derisive snort. You don't have time to worry about me. Kill me now, while you can. What? Kill him? I failed. I can already feel my mind starting to go. At this rate, I'll kill you. Since the day I'd met the Shinsengumi, I'd seen warriors kill one another many times. I'd seen plenty of killing, whether I wanted to or not. But never once had I considered that I might kill someone. And now Sanin was asking me to kill, and to kill someone I knew, someone I cared for. No, I can't. I couldn't do that. You have to. I felt his fingertips wrap around my throat again. We were so close that I could feel his hair brush against my face, his eyes bored into mine, and I could see reason begin to fade from them. If I didn't kill him, he would kill me, they said. I know you were only here by chance, and I am sorry. I must ask you to do this. I am so sorry. His right hand slid off my throat, and I felt it land on the hilt of my sword. Fingers wrapped themselves around the handle and began to pull. Oh no! No! Too late, I realized what he meant to do, and I felt ice creep up my spine. Sanin, please! You can't! It's made the task much harder, but a blade through my heart will kill me as dead as any other man. I couldn't respond. All my effort was dedicated to fighting the grip Sanin had taken on my hand and sword, which was now naked between us. Kill me. He spoke in starts and stops now, as tendrils of madness began to pull him under. Okita, come on! Please, let me die. Was that pitiful voice still Sanin? Was his last miserable hope only for death? I felt tears spraying unbidden into my eyes, and my chest tightened with the promise of racking sobs. With what little strength I had left, I struggled to stop him. But even at my best, I would have no chance. His fingers were like steel around my hand, and I watched helpless as my sword prepared to plunge into his heart. Stop, sir! Without warning, he scrambled away from me, screaming in agony. One last scream seemed to almost lift him from the floor. Then suddenly he collapsed, as if he were a marionette whose strings had been cut. Sanin? I shuffled across the floor as quickly as I could and threw myself onto his crumpled frame. Sanin! Sanin! What had happened? I was shaking him, trying to get him to do something, anything, when I heard the door slide open.
Chizuru! Sanin!
His voice was the brilliant ray of hope I so desperately needed. I spun to face him. Okita! It's Sanin! He's...
Let me get a look at him.
His eyes narrowed, and I saw them flick around the room, from Sanin's limp body to myself to the shattered vial. Okita's mouth tightened, and he bent down to lift Sanin off the floor.
Well, I say that when you drink this stuff, at first your body just can't handle it. It hurts like hell, and you start to lose it. You probably couldn't take it and just passed out.
Oh.
Well, the real painful part comes later.
With a quiet grunt, he picked up the unconscious friend and carried him through the door and away. No sooner were they gone than the last of my strength left me, and I slumped to the floor. What would happen now? I felt like I should get up, go see where Okita had taken Sanin, or at least do something, but fear, uncertainty, and overwhelming exhaustion kept me where I was. And this time I have to choose, I want to remain here. And once again, didn't move. And sadly again, I must ignore Okita's condition. And this time I have to choose the demons. Who are those men who called themselves demons? What are these demons? Hichikata crossed his arms, his face dark.
After fighting them, I can say they sure as hell aren't human, not by a long shot. He's skinny as a rail, but he can hit like an ox. Yeah, I'd say demon is a pretty good way to describe him.
Kazama and his companions clearly had strength and skill far beyond that of most men. Perhaps they really were monsters of some sort.
Well, hell, if Hijikata thinks they're demons, then they've gotta be demons.
Yup, he's the Shinsengumi's demon after all.
Takes one to know one?
Shut it, you two. This is serious.
Their playful argument was familiar ground, but it gave me something to hold on to, a small beacon against the darkness. I felt myself relax, and a sigh of relief found its way to my lips. And here we must choose the Furies. And once again, we choose the soldiers for this choice. And this time someone neutral, which was Okita again, so... Okay, I know this is going to be a short video because I spent most of it forwarding through things, but something just came up, so I have to stop recording right now. So we'll be continuing with lots more forwarding in the next episode. Hope to see you there or in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.